And if you need help unpacking the academic language at the end, he says, you can't take a piss without looking at an ad.
Go into any Olive Garden, P.F. Chang's Chinese Bistro, TGI Fridays, Fuddruckers. What do they have in the bathroom? Urinal cakes with my face on it.
Christmas movies. They're often really fun and also often terrible movies. But as 90-minute distillations of what Christmas represents in a cultural context, they can help us get a clearer idea of what Christmas represents, both in terms of its place as a religious holiday and a consumerist celebration. Shout out to everyone else who's going into credit card debt this season. I'm right there with you. And one classic holiday film in particular, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which is adapted from the Dr. Seuss book, seems to offer one of the most explicit explorations of whether or not Christmas is nothing but an excuse for us to go into credit card debt, buying stuff we don't need for people we don't like, or if it shows us how Christmas is something more. Okay, so let's find out in this Philosopher Reacts to How the Grinch Stole Christmas. But first, a quick reminder, if you need something to celebrate this holiday season, celebrate Wisecrack Live. It's our stream. It happens every Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific right here on the channel. It'd mean a lot to me if you would come and hang out. We are neither a religious or consumerist organization of individuals. We just celebrate the collapse of culture via content and have fun doing it. So check it out, Wisecrack Live, Thursdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, right here. I mean, not literally right here. I do it at my house, but on this channel, just not in this room. You know what I'm saying, okay? Before we get into the movie, I want to take a second and talk about the weird tension between consumerism and religion that we see in both Christmas itself and in Christmas movies, and ask whether or not Christmas itself has taken on some sort of religious function. And by that I mean not that Christmas is religious in its relationship to Christianity, but that we treat Christmas like its own sort of separate religious thing. As scholar Christopher Deasy says in his book, Christmas as Religion, it may be that the secular, commercialized marketplace values we associate with Christmas are themselves performing a religious function because they are in harmony with the sacred order and process of the economy. Basically, where we used to treat Christmas like a religious holiday celebrating the birth of little baby Jesus, now it's a time where we kind of celebrate the practice of consumerism. And a lot of classic Christmas films seem to bear this out, at least to some extent, because they're rarely about traditional religious practice, and more often than not are movies about our relationships to money, consumer goods, or both. And it's interesting how many classic Christmas movies involve someone not having money or a thing, and at the end of the movie, they get money or a thing, usually given to them by someone else. So I guess that's the reason for the season. If you know a Christmas movie that doesn't involve someone primarily stressed about getting money or an object, please let us know in the comments. I would like to watch that one. But does The Grinch offer us some type of non-religious account of Christmas that includes a critique of consumerism? Or is it just a movie that ultimately tells us that our consumer desires are a-okay as long as we're aware of them? Well, let's find out by watching a movie where Jim Carrey was seemingly told to just do what you did in The Mask, except different, because that seems to be what happens. And his face is green in both of them. I'm going to assume at this point, one of our wonderful editors can play a clip from The Grinch.
Oh. Ah.
And a clip from The Mask.
Spoken!
Which shows that Jim Carrey does a similar thing. Okay, let's start at the beginning of the film, where we get a sense of what Whoville is like around Christmas.
In Tampa for your cousin Leon. So we just need.
I need a Xanax just looking at this store.
Cindy Lou. Oh,
It makes me appreciate online shopping,
excuse me. Cindy Lou, honey.
even if it's kind of exploitative.
Dad,
Yeah.
doesn't this seem like a bit much?
Cindy Lou, the one person with some goddamn sense in this town.
Feel it?
Not afraid to ask the big questions. They're just throwing money. It's like we're at a strip club. Hope that wasn't disrespectful, that I said it's like a strip club.
For the next 5 minutes only, 99% off.
What sort of sale is 99% off? I think if you have a sale at 99% off, it either means you're willfully losing money or that you mark up your products so much normally that you can take 99% off and still make profit. Either way, that's crazy. Okay, so watching this, it's pretty clear that the reason for the season for the Who's is consumption and commerce, right? They're the driving engines of Christmas, but we can ask, why are they like this? And of course, why are we like this? Now, according to Professor Bruce P. Rittenhouse, the reason Americans remain attached to a consumeristic form of life is because it performs the religious function of providing them with an answer to the existential problem of meaning. And of course, this means that it's not that we or the Who's are just soulless, capitalist, consumerist monsters that need to consume at all cost, but we're creatures that are hungry for some type of existential meaning, some purpose, something that orients us in reality. And consumerism gives us that meaning on a shiny platter, and especially so around the holidays. Now, sociologist Francois Gautier says something similar and writes that it is fascinating that scholars of religion have all but ignored the obvious, the incredible rise of economics as a dominant and structuring social force in the beginning of the 1980s. And we have all noticed that consumption impregnates social life in such a way that it is impossible to relieve oneself in public facilities without having to stare at publicity. And if you need help unpacking the academic language at the end, he says, you can't take a piss without looking at an ad.
Go into any Olive Garden, P.F. Chang's Chinese Bistro, TGI Fridays, Fuddruckers. What do they have in the bathroom? Urinal cakes with my face on it.
But the point again is that economics and consumption serve a religious function because they give us meaning and purpose, and this is especially heightened during the holidays, and we see the Who's doing that. And there's some philosophers who think this isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. One other thing we note from early on in the film is that we don't really see any references to religion. We don't really see that throughout the film as such. The Who's do not know about Jesus Christ and his birth, I guess. And Kevin Concannon, who's a professor and wrote an essay about the book, said that the absence of Christianity from the book's Christmas opens up a different set of thematics that the book dramatizes below the surface, notably resentment, desire, violence, consumerism, and faith itself. We'll get back to that later, but it is interesting. When we take religion out, it leaves space for a lot of other fun stuff. We're gonna cut ahead now to the Grinch in Whoville, after Cindy Lou brings him there. Maybe it's a mistake that she brought him there. Let's find out.
Think of the love of my life.
Okay, and the mayor's getting up to some stuff here.
Please become.
Didn't you all think they were already married? We literally saw them as kids. He's waited this long? It's like got off the pot, man. It's a hell of a ring.
If you agree to be my wife,
but the ring's not enough.
with a lifetime supply of happiness, you'll also receive this.
You ever heard of such a thing?
It's a new car.
He has a microphone. The car's already spinning. His man is just rubbing the car to try to entice her.
What do you say, Martha?
Oh boy. I didn't offer anything when I proposed. Maybe that's why she still hasn't told me the answer and I haven't seen her in 2 years. Just kidding. Okay, so while the mayor of Whoville clearly sucks, it's also the case that this consumer-based sense of meaning seeps into every area of culture, including things like marriage. Now, according to Rittenhouse, abandoning consumerism means abandoning what gives a person assurance that his or her life matters. This is only possible if a person who lives in a consumeristic culture can nevertheless secure his or her significance in a different source of meaning. Which basically means if consumerism is the dominant religion of Whoville, well, of course, that's how the mayor would propose. Of course, he would tie the marriage proposal to a huge sign of consumeristic desire and his ability to consume and acquire stuff. But surely no one in America or our world now would ever do something like that. Okay, so the Grinch now goes full Joker and calls the society out. It's pretty fun. Although that's not fun. The sound that makes is really horrifying. It's like worse than nails on a chalkboard.
Of course they are.
He has bad teeth,
That's
though.
what it's all about, isn't it? That's what
It's like he has two sets of teeth.
About. Girl.
I think he ever wonders, like, why do I look different from everyone else? I'm fundamentally different. Is there a culture where people that look like him exist? And if he was there, he could just be a part of them and not forced into all this?
Your garbage. I could hang myself with all the bad Christmas neckties I found at the dump. And the avarice.
The avarice never ends!
Oh, he's so mad.
golf clubs. I want diamonds. I want a pony so I can ride it twice, get bored, and sell
That
it
is
to make
true that
glue.
when you return your pony, they
I don't
turn
wanna
it to
make
glue.
waves. But this whole Christmas
That's why I always use tape
season
instead,
is
because tape is made
stupid.
from whale bones. I just hate
There is,
whales.
however,
So hubristic.
one
I'm a whale. I'm bigger than you. I live in the ocean, you know?
Christmas tradition
It's like, off.
I find quite
This is really racy. I remember watching this as a kid, and you're like, oh no, he's gonna touch your boobies. But no, he just snatches the mistletoe and does a very good 5th grade joke. Tells them to kiss his ass, and they faint. They faint, friends. Imagine being so fragile, you know? So fragile that someone putting mistletoe over their butthole while clothed would make you faint. But this is important because we have the Grinch just pointing out the hypocrisy of the whole situation, or if not the hypocrisy, basically saying underneath all of your cultural practices that you project meaning onto is just pure consumption. And he even points out that he has to deal with their trash, right? He sees the way in which all that consumption just leads to waste. And if there was more time, we could probably get into the environmental factors there, but we're not going to. But from the same essay I referenced before by Concannon, he says, at the service of the text, the Grinch is an anti-capitalist. He steals to stop the cycle of consumption upon which he thinks Christmas is based. He then goes on to quote Slavoj Žižek as saying that Žižek has noted that such anti-capitalism is a feature that lives within capitalist logic itself and paradoxically serves to reinforce the system. And the idea there is that a capitalist system can contain anti-capitalism within it as a necessary part of that system. And then he goes on to say, this is true of Dr. Seuss's classic take on environmentalism in the Lorax. We'll cover that one on Earth Day or something. But for the time being, we see that the Grinch operates in some type of anti-capitalist position within the Whoville society. However, the question remains, can that anti-capitalism exist within the system, or does the Grinch do something that shatters that system itself? Stick around to find out. Okay, so now the Grinch is doing his plan, which we call the old reverse Santa, where he sucks the presents via tubes outside of the chimneys, and he encounters our good friend Cindy Lou in the middle of the night, who has a really cool late night hairstyle. But Cindy Lou has a question for Santa, who's actually the Grinch.
Santa, what's Christmas really about?
vengeance!
I mean... presents, I suppose.
I was afraid of that.
But Cindy Lou seems so smart, but then she doesn't recognize the Grinch. Come on, Cindy Lou. Maybe she wears glasses normally, or she has contacts, and she takes them out at night. So then, yeah, maybe she takes her contacts out at night, and then she got up to get a snack, and her contacts were still out, and that's why she didn't recognize the Grinch in a Santa outfit. But yeah, I think there's something interesting that happens here in that Cindy Lou is sort of the skeptic or the atheist of Whoville society. She's like the gadfly of Whoville because she's desperately looking for a reason to believe. She seems to want to believe or have something to believe in, but every time she gets close, it's revealed to her that the faith of her people just boils down to consumer participation. She's searching for something more. It gets back to that question of, looking for existential meaning in life. Well, she wants that, and she's not really getting satisfying answers there. So I don't know, kids. If you're not satisfied with the answers that your culture or parents or religion give you, just keep asking questions and wear your hair in a real straight up thing like Cindy Lou, because it seems to work out for her. Okay, so here we have the aftermath of the Grinch's reverse Santa, which is not a sex move. The reverse Santa is not. But if it was, let us know in the comments what a reverse Santa would be in language that won't get your comment banned.
Did anyone listen to me?
I did.
No. You choose to listen
This mayor sucks.
to a little not to be taken seriously girl who hasn't even grown into her nose yet.
The first time in the film they acknowledge why Cindy
I hope
Lou
you're very
has
proud
a normal human
of
nose.
what you've done.
The finger wag. Have you ever wagged a finger like that at my child? Oh, here we go. Good father
I'm
behavior.
glad he took our presents.
This could be a thing though where dad says this when everyone else is watching, and then maybe at home he's just like, I worked too hard for this. I work all year, and now the presents are gone. Give me a drink. Or maybe he's a good guy. Who knows?
That the Grinch virtually wrecked, no, not wrecked, pulverized Christmas. Is that what I'm hearing from you, Lou?
You can't hurt Christmas, Mr. Mayor, because it isn't about the gifts or the contests or the fancy lights.
So note that
That's what Cindy's been trying
he tells
to
us
tell
what Christmas
everyone.
isn't,
And me.
but not really what Christmas
Trying to
is.
tell me.
What is wrong with you?
It's like I can
This is a
invite you
child.
over for dinner, and you say, "What are you making?" And
My
I say,
child.
"It's not."
And she
Poop.
happens to be right, by the way.
And you're psyched that I'm not going to feed you feces, but also there's a lot of other things it could be. Maybe I give you a positive description, like it's chicken parm, which is also not poop.
Well, I don't need anything more for Christmas than this right here. My family.
So Christmas is about the family, I think.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Everyone else seems to join in, and then here we go, guys. Get ready for it. It's about to get hot.
Hunk of burnin' who?
She just goes for it. And watch the sons right here. Watch the son. He's gonna look like he looks like he's about to throw up. That's really disrespectful. It's really disrespectful. Let your parents make love. This Christmas season, everyone, let your parents make love. You know, you hear a little noise coming from the bedroom. You see mommy kissing Santa Claus. Look the other way. Leave it alone. Let it happen. Yeah, so it seems like the Grinch's reverse Santa is a net positive for the whole of society, although we only get this negative understanding of what Christmas isn't, not really what Christmas is. But there's a quote from the DC book that I think is helpful here, where he says, "There is also the paradox that despite being bound up with the world of commerce and capitalism, Christmas is also synonymous with the home, handmade gifts, and spontaneous giving, the opposite of modern commercial activity." And that does make me think as well of the Zizek thing we talked about before, where two paradoxical elements can coexist in that way. And I think that's what he's saying right here. A lot of Christmas films and Christmas culture in general contain this heavy emphasis on consumerism, while also saying what really matters is the home, handmade gifts, spontaneous giving, the family, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so the Grinch did his reverse Santa, but then the Who's, because of Cindy Lou's dad, they're still having a nice Christmas. He hears them singing. What does it all mean?
Then the Grinch
I bet a rhyme could
thought
help us
of
figure it
something
out.
he hadn't before.
Maybe Christmas.
He thought,
Doesn't.
They leave it so vague, though. Like, tell us what Christmas is. Hung out for an hour and a half.
Maybe Christmas.
And then this is what you're going to tell me. You're going to say Christmas is... What is it? What is it? What is it?
Means a little bit more.
It's just more. Christmas is more. What is it? Oh, it's not consumerism. It's not gifts. It's more. Okay, so the Grinch ends up positively affected by the ability of the Who's to detach their holiday celebration from consumption. But according to Concanon, because Christmas is revealed to be more than the acquisition of material goods, it is surprising that the Grinch then turns his sleigh around, returns the items he stole, and then joins in with the usual Who Christmas celebrations. And in those clips, you're seeing that the Grinch, after having his change of heart, not a heart attack, goes down with his sleigh, gives them presents, and they do all the normal Christmas stuff, just as they always have. And here's more of the same quote from Concanon. He says, when he hears the Who's singing, the Grinch's beliefs about Christmas change. He now knows that Christmas is not about presents and feast, and it is precisely this knowing that allows him to enter Whoville as a fellow consumer. His knowledge has allowed him to distance himself from consumption, just as the Who's seemingly always have done. As long as you know that Christmas is more than presents, then you can buy all the presents you want. And it seems that that's where the film lands. That the acknowledgement of the logic of consumer Christmas in Whoville allows you to then willfully participate in the very thing, the logic of which you don't like. If this movie was going to be some type of anti-consumerist screed where the Grinch really did disrupt Whoville's Christmas, what should he have done? Burn the presents? throwing them in the trash? I don't know. So let us know in the comments how you think this movie should have ended. What could the Grinch have done to really see it all through? Okay, so thank you for hanging out for that. It was fun for me. I hope it was a little bit fun for you. I want to end with a quote from DC again, whose book you should check out if you're interested in this stuff. He says, "It is for this reason that Christmas is such a conundrum. It may be a festival of unalloyed and undisciplined materialism where 20% of all retail goods sold in the United States are Christmas purchases, in which nearly 60% of Americans incurred credit card debt at Christmas 2004, with some 14% still paying off debts from the previous year when Christmas 2005 came around. But such a narrative is not always the one we choose to hear. Rather, Christmas is a time associated with a focus on the children, humanitarianism toward the underprivileged and vulnerable, and a feeling of nostalgia for good times past." So we hope whatever you're doing this holiday season, whether it's Christmas or something else, make it a good thing. We're going to try our best to do that as well. And thank you so much for your support all year. Wanted to let you know that this is going to be our last video of 2022. We're going to take a couple weeks off so that our team can relax, celebrate the holidays, spend time with family, doing good stuff, except for my colleagues who are just going to do consumerism constantly. They know who they are. But thank you so much for all your support and for letting us take a little time off. We will see you again with new videos in January. Now, if you feel like making our hearts grow 3 times bigger, consider joining our Patreon. There's a link in the description. But no matter what, thank you for being here. We really appreciate all the support, and we'll catch you later.